We start in Washington this morning, where a new CBS News poll finds a majority of Americans want special counsel Robert Mueller's report to be made public. The poll found that 77% want the report on Russian election interference to be released. Only about 1/3 of all respondents believe Mueller cleared the president of illegal activity, but among Republicans, that number includes about 2/3.
Meanwhile, at the White House, the president is calling on Republicans to present a replacement for Obamacare, a move Attorney General William Barr and Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar reportedly opposed. Major Garrett is at the White House with more on the decision that could split the GOP.
We are going to be the Republicans, the party of great health care.
President Trump, having presided over a failed attempt with a unified Republican Congress in 2017, vowed this time to terminate Obamacare with or without the new divided Congress.
If the Supreme Court rules that Obamacare is out, we will have a plan that's far better.
The White House this week backed efforts to kill the health care law in federal court. It expects the Supreme Court to decide the matter next summer. Vice President Mike Pence's chief of staff said there's no health care backup plan now.
I think you'll see Secretary Azar and his team come forward with something in the coming months.
The sudden pivot from Mueller to health care stunned many Republicans.
I'm very disappointed and vehemently opposed to the administration seeking to invalidate the entire Affordable Care Act.
With the administration now targeting the law in court, Democrats can argue and Republicans now fear that voters should worry health care coverage for tens of millions is at risk.
This is the people's life and death. This is health care. It's ridiculous. We want to fix it. We know there needs to be repairs.
Meanwhile, Congress waits for the full Mueller report, which House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler said was very substantial in length, suggesting more might be learned than was found in Attorney General William Barr's 4-page summary. The president called in to Fox News last night.
We're very happy about it. It was a cloud. The finding was very, very strong. No collusion, no obstruction, no Russia, no nothing.
All right, CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett is joining us now from the White House. So, Major, let's talk a little bit more about, what's seeming like a rift within the Republican Party about what will replace the Affordable Care Act. We've seen this story already. We've gone around this story already, right? The president campaigned on repeal and replace. They couldn't figure out a replacement. They voted on repeal. They didn't pass repeal. And here we are again. It looks like the Trump administration, is using sort of the legal system to figure out a way to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But they still have to figure out something to replace it with.
That's right. Now, the Republican hostility to the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, is long-standing. That's nothing new. What's new this week is the Trump administration, a divided Trump administration, decided to put the full weight of the Justice Department behind a lawsuit that started in the Northern District of Texas, in federal court there, saying that when President Trump and congressional Republicans in 2017, as part of the tax bill, eliminated the individual mandate within Obamacare, that rendered the entire rest of the law unconstitutional. Last year, the administration had a chance to weigh in on that lawsuit, and it did not go that far. This week it did. It said, yes, the whole law should be stricken completely because all of its foundation legally is unconstitutional. That's what's new this week. And there were some voices of the administration who said, don't do that. We don't need to do that, not now. The case hasn't reached the Supreme Court yet. It hasn't even reached a full appeals court. Doing this now, making this announcement, will then invite questions like, well, what's your plan to replace it? Republicans don't have it in Congress. This administration doesn't have it. So it's left in its own lurch. Yes, it's always been hostile to the Affordable Care Act, but the hostility reached a new level this week when it said the entire law should be legally invalidated, inviting absolutely understandable questions about how would you replace it. And the president's confidence, Republicans will be the party of health care and we're going to have a great plan, ring hollow on Capitol Hill because Republicans know how difficult it was to do that when they were in control of both the House and the Senate. They are not any longer. And I talked to several House Republicans yesterday who said, does the president really think he's going to be able to drive a better bargain with the House Democratic majority? If he does, he's wrong.
Major Republicans reportedly are blindsided by the president's move. What is the White House now doing to get everyone on the same page?
They're not doing anything to get everyone on the same page. They're just sort of saying, well, relax, it'll all be fine. That's not comforting to congressional Republicans who well remember, in ways they don't believe this administration does, the trauma of the just completed midterm elections, when not only did Democrats regain control of the House, one of the most important issues they raised was Republican hostility, not just to Obamacare, but to its most popular provisions. What are they? Protection against insurance discrimination if you have a pre-existing condition. No lifetime caps on how much you can spend within your insurance coverage. Yes, it is in some cases expensive to pay the premiums and obtain this coverage, but once obtained, you have those embedded protections. Your kids can stay on your insurance policy for up to the age of 26. These things are very popular. Republicans had to walk a political gauntlet last fall amid Democratic criticism. They were attempting to get rid of all those very popular provisions. They all say they want to keep them, but they can't prove how outside of the Affordable Care Act. And that's why congressional Republicans keep telling the White House, hey, you better come up with something and give us some kind of placeholder rhetoric. And unless you do, we're going to start dividing away from you and either come up with our own plans or start firing back at the White House.
So, Major, the split with, congressional Republicans, I can understand. But as I understand it, even within the White House, members of the president's own administration were sort of stumped as to why he was going this route.
Look, the president wants to do this. The president loves to fight, and he loves to move on to the next fight as rapidly as he possibly can. And he does believe that there is something about the Obamacare effort, meaning to repeal it and replace it, that is an unkept promise of his and an unachieved priority of his. And his acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, is eager to keep the president's agenda moving and please the president that that agenda is, if not moving, being pressed forward. He was on the side of let's go after this. There were other voices, the Attorney General William Barr, the Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar, who said, look, we don't have to jump into this right now. But the administration has jumped into it. Why? Because the president wanted to. The president, as everyone here will tell you, will listen to disputes. But when he makes up his mind, that's it. And that's where he is, and that's where this administration is right now.
Geez, Major, he was right in the middle, I think, of a victory lap. I don't know if he made it all the way around the track, and then we're on to something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think he got to round 2 and then blew a tire.
Exactly.
Blew a tire.
Major Garrett, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.